I see a lot of friendly faces in the audience. To our Thursday, February 22nd, regular City Commission meeting. We will call this meeting to order, and if you are able, please rise and join us for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Jennifer?
Thank you. Let us begin this meeting by taking a brief moment of silence and reflect on the practices of understanding and goodwill. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now we have some presentations. Our first presentation is the presentation of the new Pinellas County Sheriff's Office North District Station personnel for the City of Dunedin. Teresa.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. Teresa Smalling, Director of HR and Risk Management for the city, as well as the city's liaison to the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. You may remember a few weeks ago we came to introduce some new members of our Sheriff's Office administration at the North District Station, and one of them, Lieutenant Montgomery, was unable to join. So he's here tonight with Captain Jackson to say a few words.
Come on down. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you
Good
for having
evening.
us. So last month I introduced one of our newest members, Corporal Wytrack. With us here today is Lieutenant Montgomery. Lieutenant Montgomery and I have worked together since about 2006, so we go back a ways. He is no stranger to the city of Dunedin. He is my right hand in the administration of our North District. I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself.
Welcome.
Welcome, how are you? So I've been at the agency for 22 years. Last 3 years as a lieutenant, 7 years as a sergeant, a couple years as a corporal. I was telling the good captain here that this is the second time I've done this. I think you were back here in 16 or 17,
Oh, yeah.
maybe?
I've been here since '06.
Okay, long time, a long time. So I had this unit as a sergeant. I had Sergeant Green's position back in 16, so I've been in community policing for several years, both as a deputy, a corporal, sergeant, and now I'm running the unit under his command here. So I'm happy to be back in the city of Dunedin, and I appreciate it, and nice to meet everybody.
Well, we're happy to have you, and it's just really important, especially our business owners and the various neighborhoods. They like to know our officers by name and face, so we just encourage you to get out there and walk around and introduce
Yes, ma'am, will
yourself.
do.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Welcome
thank
to
you. Thank
Dunedin.
you all.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mayor, was that, you've been here since 2006 or 1906?
Okay.
No? It has been a while.
Good one,
Yeah,
Commissioner Dow.
it feels like 1906, for sure. Go right ahead, Rob, I won't stop you. Okay, now we have our Peace Day in Dunedin 2024. I will turn that over to Commissioner Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I get the Rotarians to come up front and center? Everybody.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay, Rob.
Well, as a proud Rotarian myself, I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to read this. Peace Day in Dunedin 2024. Whereas the Peace Pole Project, initiated in 1955 by Japanese teacher, poet, and philosopher Masahisa Goi in the aftermath of World War II, has become a global symbol of peace. And whereas the profound message, "May peace prevail on earth," which arose from a moment of inspiration for Goi, continues to resonate and inspire individuals across the world. And whereas Rotary International, with a steadfast commitment to promoting peace and goodwill throughout the world, recognizes the importance of fostering understanding and unity among diverse communities, and whereas Rotary International has designated the week of the anniversary of Rotary's founding on February 23, 1905, to be known as World Understanding and Peace Week. And whereas Rotary clubs around the world will celebrate Rotary service, reflect upon past achievements, and focus on programs of peace, understanding, and goodwill. And whereas Dunedin's 3 Rotary clubs, the Rotary Club of Dunedin, Dunedin North, and Dunedin Waterside, in alignment with the ideals of Rotary International, have collectively embraced the vision of a more peaceful world. Now therefore, I, Robert James Walker, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Mayor of the City of Dunedin, Florida, and on behalf of the entire City Commission, do hereby proclaim February 23rd this year and every year as Peace Day in Dunedin, and commend the Rotary Clubs of Dunedin, Dunedin North, and Dunedin Waterside for their collaborative efforts that planted a peace bowl at the Dunedin Community Center in Highlander Park, and their continued focus on peace, understanding, and goodwill. Let this proclamation serve as a reminder to all residents to reflect upon the universal values of peace, goodwill, and understanding, and to strive towards creating a more harmonious and compassionate community.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, she wants one more.
Yeah, everybody.
Robert James.
Anybody else from Rotary want to come up for this picture?
Thought you got away, but you didn't. Here we go.
There you go. All Rotary, come forward. There you go. Only Sue. Sue is the only boss.
Let's see, we need a little repositioning here. Yes, thank you, Commissioner Walker. All right, I want to see all the faces. Thanks. Oh, it's still there. Okay, all right, excellent. Ready?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Now we'll move on to citizen input. Anyone wishing to speak on any topic that is not already on the agenda, please feel free to come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes on the clock right up there. Come on down, David. What you got for us?
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. The Declaration of Independence states that mankind is more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable, and as interpreted, such evil under such initial sufferance when in the course of human events is intent to impose its suffrage upon fellow mankind in pursuit of its happiness assumed at a later date and time. Such evil under such initial sufferance as declared seemingly has constituted itself as a peacetime ship of war in Article 1, Section 10 of our current Constitution. So my question being, does such evil declaring itself to be in such a state of sufferance as declared, does this evil consider itself to be a prisoner of such war as constituted in Article 1, Section 10, under such pretension of such sufferance? Does the POW flag flown at every township have a duplicit or bifurcated meaning reflective of an evil claiming to be imprisoned, a evil claiming to be a prisoner of war underneath our current constitutional framework as declared? Should that be the case, as plausiated, and it very well may be, the POW flag seems to have a duplicit purpose and serves as a mockery of the men that have served and shed their blood for this nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Anyone else wish to come forward and speak to any item that's not already on the agenda? Okay, we'll move on to our action items. Our second reading of ordinance 24-05, historic landmark designation for 611 Loudon Avenue. Jennifer, can you please read ordinance 2405 by title only?
Yes, ordinance 24-05, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, designating certain real property located at 611 Loudon Avenue, Dunedin, Florida, 34698-7010, parcel number 34-28-15-20412-000-0070, with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately .62 acres, and the residential structure thereon as a local historic landmark and providing for an effective date. That was ordinance 24-05, read by title only.
Okay. I had to remember what you said. I had to make sure that I heard that, but my brain was moving a little slower than I wanted it to. Okay, can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Gao and Commissioner Walker. Francis?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Frances Leong Sharp, Planner 2 for the City of Dunedin, presenting this evening for the second reading of the historic landmark designation at the location of 611 Loudon Avenue, also known as the People's Home. I do want to share that this is a very momentous day. February 22nd happens to be Mrs. Corrine de Garmendia Stevens Peebles' birthday. So it's a very, very fortuitous timing that we are presenting the second reading of this ordinance. Just to go over the presentation very quickly, since many of you have heard this presentation last month. It was once home to Frederick Thomas Peebles and Corrine de Garmendia Stevens Peebles, who had made significant contributions. Uh-oh, it's not advancing. To the city in itself. Just as a brief overview, in 1926, Frederick Thomas Peebles founded Kerr and Peebles, which is Dunedin's first law firm, as well as that he also served as a city attorney for Dunedin through a number of years through that time, from 1929 through 1939, and from 1946 to 1949. In addition to that, during World War II, he had served as the U.S. Naval Reserve, in the U.S. Naval Reserve as a lieutenant at senior grade, and received an honorable discharge as a lieutenant commander in 1945. And then also he was involved with many development projects with Sam Kellner, which another, once again, an interesting fact is that the street name Spalding Street and Frederica Lane were named after Frederick and Corrine's children. Excuse me. And then Corrine Peebles, she was heavily involved during the Second World War, as well as chair of Dunedin's Red Cross Surgical Union, rallying women to support for national defense efforts. And one of the things that she had done is that she participated in the night watches from the tower at Edgewater Park, which I believe was known to be, used to be the city's library. And she was also the former president, vice president, and member of the Morton F. Plant Hospital Auxiliary Foundation. And she was also the head of People's Wallace Day School and Little Red Schoolhouse at the Bellevue Biltmore Hotel. And to get to know a little bit more about the home itself, the Peoples had purchased the home back in March of 1930. The style of the architecture is of the Colonial Revival architectural style. As evidenced in this picture, the center gable, the front entry with the pediment support with columns, and the symmetry that you see here with the windows. Unfortunately, we do not know the architect or the builder of the home, but the home in itself was built in 1926. And then once again, the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee had recommended an approval for the designation on November 9th of 2023, as well as the City Commission had approved the first reading last month. Once again, staff have recommended approval for the second and final reading of this ordinance. And then I guess I'll wait till the presentation of the plaque, so I'll leave it there. Oh, and we do have Frederica Peebles present in our audience, who is the owner and applicant of this.
So why don't you come on down and talk to us, please?
Good evening, Mayor. And
Good evening.
Vice Mayor, Commissioners, staff. Again, I would like to thank Kevin and Ann for the extensive research. Kevin got it started, and Ann did extensive research, finding out not only about the house, but about my parents and all the contributions they made to Dunedin from 1926 until their death in 1982 and 89, respectively. I want to thank Vinnie for including my father, and the history comes alive in the cemetery. Who knew? This started out in saving the house, and it's blossomed into a wonderful tribute to my mother and dad. And I'm so thrilled about that. As I said earlier, or last time, my father was a man of great integrity, known as the humble and honest businessman in town. Mother, in her very quiet way of leadership, did things, spearheaded things in Dunedin, Red Cross night watches. Also volunteered, even after I took the keys away from her, our housekeeper would drive her out to Our Lady of Lourdes to spend 1 hour or 2 hours with B. Donahue in the first grade class, because she just had to work with those little ones, And she'd take her name and teach the lesson, Peebles, 2 E's, first vowel is long, second vowel is silent. But she had a teacher at heart always. And again, I'm just so honored, not only for the house, but more so that this has blossomed into something wonderful for my mother and dad. So I thank you very much.
And we thank you for your willingness to do that with your property and preserve a little slice of Dunedin, so thank you for that. Yay.
We're trying to keep it running.
Okay, do we have any questions for Francis? All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to this item, feel free to do so. Nothing from you, Deb? Okay. Gotcha. All right, we'll come back to the maker of the motion, Commissioner Gao.
If you look up the definition of community in the dictionary, you would certainly see a picture of this moment in time on how we are represented or how we represent our community. So it's just a wonderful night. Congratulations.
And Commissioner Walker?
Yes, ma'am. The historical designation program that we have in place is truly the foundation of this community. The homes that we designate, they are more than just a home at any point in time. They serve as a monument of passing history, in this case, almost a century, where the nation went through Prohibition, Depression, World War II, the Korean conflict, Vietnam, and a whole host of other stuff over the last 100 years. But most importantly to the community of Dunedin, it serves as a reminder of the growth and all of the attributes that make Dunedin what it is. So I want to thank you again for sharing your home with us. I just think this is absolutely wonderful, and I applaud the efforts of the Historical Preservation Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, this is a feel-good night, right? And I just, Dunedin always amazes me, because I think what people want now in their life, in this world, is connectivity. And the way that Dunedin just always kind of does that, connecting the past to our future and being proud of it, because it's so embedded in who we are. And Frederica, I think tonight just shows that, like that honoring of your parents, honoring the house, and how you've kept that alive, but the community celebrates it with you. So, yeah, I'm proud to be up here and celebrating this moment with you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Tornga?
Thank you, Mayor. I think that this is a family that really made a difference here in Dunedin. I'm just really happy that we had this chance to celebrate this. I just love the history, of course, of our community, and particularly during this time period. And somebody gave so much, just really incredible. So I'm really happy to celebrate this evening. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner Tornga. I echo everything that everyone else has said, but I'm just really proud of the camaraderie that has occurred with that little group right there and beyond. You know, you've all made new friends or reconnected with old friends. As some of my colleagues mentioned, really making the connectivity and preserving your home and your family's home and your family's history, I think is important. But in a day and age where, you know, Florida has a lot of people floating in and out of here from faraway places, especially in the last 5 years and since COVID, right? And we always have those new people coming in and telling us how stupid we are for what we do and how we do it. And so I think that this proves that we value the history of this community. We value who we are as a people. And you might think we're overdeveloping, but we're preserving a slice of history at the same time. And it's all about having a balanced community, and we thank you very much for your willingness to go through all of this effort and time. Yeah, I know Miss Research Hound back there. She does a great job. And Kevin, geez, Kevin, how many properties have you revitalized? I mean, like 7? Something like 7? 7, yeah. So we've got a great little group in our community. Of course, we have our historical preservation guru and former Vice Mayor Deborah Kynes, who's now chair of our Historic Preservation Committee, which is exactly where you should be. So I'm very, very, very proud of all the steps that you all have taken. So let's do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Tornga?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Franey?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Gao?
Aye.
Mayor Burzowski?
Aye, that motion passes unanimously.
So we have Deborah Kynes, the chair of our Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, to present the plaque.
Come back up.
Thank you so much, but I would love Ann and Kevin and Betty. Come on, y'all been such a part of this. Well, I'm trying to make them come, but I'm not real good at that.
Come on, Kevin. Kevin, we want you to come up. We're asking. Doesn't matter. He doesn't care. He's an equal opportunity offender.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's on.
That's true.
To present this to Frederica People. And don't you know that her mom and dad are smiling down from up there saying on her mother's birthday, happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday, Mom. We get to present this for her beautiful home and years and years of history and service to our city of Dunedin.
Yeah. Yep, come on up. You get to stand right in front. Come on, Deb. Come on, Ann. Ann, she'll take the picture. Come on.
I saw that
The
coming.
tall one and the short people. All right, yay! I know. Deb, I love your sweatshirt there. I don't think I've ever seen you wear one. That's a new look for you, girl in retirement. I didn't think so either. Yeah, I saw that. Of course, it has to be unique, right?
Of course.
All right. You guys don't have to hang around if you don't want to. I got to assume you're going to go out for drinks now. Deb? You guys can get out now if you want. No, I'm teasing. You can stay if you want to. I just feel like you guys are going to go out and have a cocktail. You don't need us anymore. All right, enjoy your evening. Okay, we now have the second reading of ordinance 2401, amending, section something, chapter 78 of the city code of ordinance allowing for franchise utility providers with facilities located within city rights-of-way to not be subjected to an annual general permit requirement set forth therein. Jennifer, would you please read that ordinance 2401 by title only? I couldn't get through it.
Ordinance 2401, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, amending Section 78-515 of Article 10, Chapter 78 of the city's Code of Ordinances to provide that utility providers possessing a franchise from the city for use and occupation of city rights-of-way shall not be subject to the annual general permit requirement set forth therein, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. That was ordinance 2401, read by title only.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Vice Mayor Frainie, Commissioner Twonga? Okay, Jorge?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm here with Chris Rowe with BMO's Tallahassee office. Chris actually drafted this ordinance, and the amendment, as the city attorney mentioned, is a precursor to the next item that you'll have for consideration, which has to do with franchise utility holders within the city. And it's something that came up during the franchise agreement negotiations with Duke with respect to annual general permit requirements that other utilities that work within our right-of-way are required to abide by. But franchise utility holders already have those requirements embedded in the franchise utility itself. So the reason that this could not be addressed in the Duke franchise agreement utility ordinance is because it also impacts other franchise holders, in this case, Clearwater Gas as well. So this is a requirement in order to move forward with the second reading of the franchise utility ordinance for Duke, but it also impacts Clearwater Gas. So it amends our code of ordinances in order to remove that requirement.
Okay, any questions for Jorge or Chris? Questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody wishing to come forward, please feel free to do so. Seeing or hearing none, we'll come back to the maker of the motion. Vice Mayor Frainie, any final comments?
No.
Commissioner Twonga, final comments?
I have nothing.
Gentlemen? No, me neither. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gao?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Twonga?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Frainie?
Aye.
Mayor Brzezowski?
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Chris. All right, we're on the second reading of ordinance 2402, granting Duke Energy an electric utility franchise agreement allowing for occupancy of city rights-of-way for the purpose of providing electric services within the city of Dunedin's jurisdictional limits. Jennifer, would you please read ordinance 2402 by title only?
Ordinance 2402, an ordinance granting to Duke Energy Florida LLC, doing business as Duke Energy, an electric utilities rights-of-way utilization franchise prescribing the terms and conditions related to the occupancy of municipal streets and rights-of-way in the city of Dunedin, Florida, providing for the purpose of providing electric service, providing for severability of provisions, and providing an effective date. That was ordinance 2402, read by title only.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Vice Mayor Franey
Second.
and Commissioner Walker. Jorge, this is second reading, so it can be, limited.
Brief and brilliant.
Thank
We'll
you.
get
That thing is going to go on forever, Jennifer.
So, yes, Mayor, so as you know, we came before you on January 25th with the first reading. This is the ordinance 2402, which is the Duke franchise agreement renewal. As was discussed during the first reading, this has gone on for quite some time. We've been negotiating, I'd say, for about 2.5 years. As a point of recap, the most recent franchise ordinance was adopted on July of 2012. That was ordinance 1232 with Florida Power, then doing business as Progress Energy. That ordinance had a 10-year term with an option for renewal of a secondary 10-year term. Prior to that, there was ordinance 0145 back in December of 2001. That was with Florida Power Corp., also a 10-year term with a 10-year renewal option. The one deviation with this franchise agreement ordinance renewal is it has that initial 10-year term, but then we have 2 subsequent 5-year renewal options embedded in that. I won't go over everything that we discussed during the first reading. The only thing I would like to highlight are those things that were brought up during the first reading that were of concern. The 2 major items that were discussed during the first reading were concerns that had to do with aesthetics or visual blight for any equipment that Duke might place within the right-of-way. And the second one had, it was an inquiry related to a termination of the franchise agreement should there be a potential sale or merger of Duke's assets of the utility system. So I'll point out that in your attachments to this agenda item, specifically attachments C2 and D address those particular concerns. If you look on page 7 of C2, it's C2 and C1 are identical. The only difference being C2 has a red line of those edits that were made between now and the first reading to the memorandum of understanding. That is, as I mentioned, attachment C2 that addresses those concerns regarding visual blight, and then attachment D speaks to the reasoning and the justification that Duke provided as to concerns related to the merger inquiry that was made during the first reading. There was also an inquiry, I believe, by Commissioner Gao during the first reading that asked how we compared overhead versus undergrounding in the city of Dunedin. And in that attachment D, there's a response provided by Duke, but I'll just summarize it briefly. They have about 26.2% of overhead primary, which results in about 110 miles of overhead within the city's boundaries. They have about 25% or 107 miles, let's say, of secondary overhead. And then with respect to undergrounding, they have about 25.1% underground primary, which is about 105 miles, and they have underground secondary about 23.2%. So it's about a 50-50 split between underground versus overhead. And I just wanted to highlight that because that was one of the comments that was raised during the first reading. So again, Chris Rowe is here, who did a lot of the heavy lifting with me in the negotiations with Duke. And I will point out to my Duke colleagues to the left, I don't know if you noticed, but he popped the snap on the revolver when you came up. So just keep that in mind as you present. So and with that, I'll defer to Duke.
Chris, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, Mayor, I did not. That was an excellent summary. Thank you.
I'll turn it over to Duke Energy. Anything you wanted to add for second reading?
Well, no, we just are, very pleased that although this took, more time than any of us would have liked, we are certainly pleased that we've been able to come together, better understand each other, work together more closely, understand your needs better. One of the things that I would like to highlight, I know that, you are all very focused on renewable energy and things of that nature. Would just like to add that just since our first reading, Duke has, we have a proposal now before the Florida Public Service Commission, or we will as of April the 2nd, to increase, our solar presence in the state by 1,050 megawatts. And to put that in perspective, it's about 5 acres per megawatt of solar. So you're looking at, well over 5,000 acres of solar panels. So I know that is an important criteria for you to help you meet your sustainability goals, and we look forward to working with you on helping you reach those goals.
Okay. Anything else from you?
I'll just say that, just want to share my appreciation working with Jorge, with Chris, and Vice Mayor Franny. Challenged us all the way through this process, and hopefully.
Well, I know she did.
She did. But I felt she really represented the city well, and appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully, we prove that we met that challenge.
Thank you very much. So our liaison to this process, somebody that's known our electric system for a long time, any other things you wanted to add before we open it up to the public, and then questions from our colleagues?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to be that person. We got an early meeting, so I'm just going to reiterate a couple things. When we started 3 years ago, it was rough. We had come off some storms that, Duke hadn't performed well in. There were some really chronic areas that were just, big problems. And I think, I was thinking today, like, what's the number one thing that got achieved in the 3 years? And I think a lot got achieved, but probably number one was, I look at you, Chris, I look at you, Jeff, I look at Mike, and I'm like, Shannon and some of the people out there. There was a consistency through the process of trust. We built trust. We went from an explosive first meeting to building trust, and a lot of trust has been gained up to this. But again, I'm just going to reiterate, as representing the commission, again, as the liaison, the different things we focused on. Number one was reliability. And I would reiterate again that the report, the energy report that got done really 2 years ago, which was hard to get to because everything you usually get out of Duke is massive and big, and just all the cities are combined, and you don't know what's going on with Dunedin. And you guys produced a great document and focused on a lot of things about feeder improvements, and these are things that have happened over the last 3 years. Improvements to the Dunedin substation, addressing the chronic areas. We're 84% self-healing lines now. Obviously, storm resiliency and improvement. Our climate goals, which Jeff, you reiterated, those are really important to us. Our decorative street lighting, we've got 270 LED lights and new poles going to be put in.
They still don't have plants hanging on them.
I know. Well, we'll continue to talk about it.
I'm teasing.
I did think about that later, and I thought, we probably should at least make sure we look at all the factors there. I think we tried, but we'll continue to talk about it. And I think another big thing that you guys have done, and I really, really appreciate, and it got brought up by fellow commissioners last time, is, you've kind of re-engaged in some of our community initiatives, which businesses do, right? And I think that had lost some focus too, and you guys are all over it, and we so appreciate that. As far as the two things that I brought up last time that I thought could be improved on, the one was the visual blight, so that whether it's in our neighborhoods or whether it's by city facilities, we put a lot of money in being beautiful, and you did strengthen language in the MOU, which very appreciated. And on the termination clause issue, I read everything, very thorough. But no, I think, there's pros and cons of that, and maybe there's even a little bit more cons that if you did have somebody buy you out, at least we've got the security of an agreement that we've formed, and they have to live up to that until we come up to our next agreement. And since the agreements are 10 years, 5 years, 5 years, there's not that much time in between like there used to be with 30-year agreements. So I do want to share my appreciation for Jorge, for Chris on our side, Chris, Jeff, Mike, Kimberly, right? Yep. And then a special shout out to Shannon. I gave Mike all the credit for being there for the mobile home park in the tornado last time, but Shannon was actually the first guy that I was on the call with. So you tell him I said so. I was hoping he'd be here today. But anyway, bottom line, I think a lot's been accomplished, and I hope the commission feels good as well. And again, to me, it's all about reliability. People want everything to work when it needs to work and during storms, and we've seen the efforts that have been put in here. And I've made the calls for people that would call me all the time, and they're impressed with the improvements that have been made. So let's just keep it up.
Okay, are there any questions then from Jorge, the Duke team, Chris, or our liaison, Vice Mayor Freeney? All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to come forward and speak to this item? Come on down, David.
Quick question, please. Again, David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. I remember in 5th grade I had this little wristwatch that was solar powered. I thought I was the coolest kid, cheating in math class because it had a little calculator built in on it, and
Giving away all your secrets.
my question being, with solar technology being built into a wristwatch that had a calculator built in on it, why has solar technology been suppressed for, that was 50 years ago?
Now you're showing your age.
We should.
And mine. I said you're showing your age and mine.
I know.
We went to school together, so, sorry. Go ahead.
The industry is displaying a deliberate delay here in solar technology. In my mind, rooftops should have already been laminated with roll roofing of a solar panel. We should have had some of this deployed as pilot programs. I don't believe that putting solar fields out in undeveloped areas is ecologically friendly to gopher tortoises and other, habitats that don't need to be disrupted for this solar technology when our rooftops and a roll roofing solar technology where the homeowner can be somewhat self-sufficient of his own electricity. And I think the industry deliberately delaying on these measures is serving itself rather than serving the public or the residents. I think it's time we need to start looking at this in a serious way. Thank you again for letting me.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. I will say that just last Tuesday, we were talking about doing a solar analysis on 16 city buildings to see which buildings we can retrofit and in what order, either pre-new roof or post waiting for a new roof, those kind of things. The city's committed to do that. We also have a solar grant funding for residential properties. I think it's up to, is it 75,000 now?
75.
Something to that effect. So we're, I can tell you government can't control what people do as far as technology, but we're taking it very seriously. But appreciate your comments. I'm sure our sustainability coordinator is going to appreciate them too. Okay, anybody else wish to come forward and speak to this item? All right, I'm going to come back to the maker of the motion, Commissioner Vice Mayor Freeney, kind of given all your comments, right?
I've given all my comments, so I'll just say thanks again and look forward to working more together.
Commissioner Walker, anything? No further comments. Commissioner Gao?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, David, if you remember, there were actually solar panels on the White House in the 70s, so we've tried to make progress. But take a step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but we're getting better. Listen, I really do need to thank Duke, I need to thank Jorge, and certainly Vice Mayor Freeney. You guys have worked hard, and it's greatly appreciated. I know that we stand before our residents constantly, and we talk about infrastructure and the importance of the idea that their toilets flush, and when they turn on the tap in their kitchen, that the water flows, and when they turn on their lights, they get electricity. Now, the city directly controls water, wastewater, but our commitment to the residents with electricity comes through the franchise agreement. And so it's important that we manage that franchise agreement seriously and with purpose, with our residents in mind, and we have done that. I want to challenge Duke, and I even want to challenge the city, that I think undergrounding is important to the residents. And it also has a positive impact on our electricity providers if we can underground. There's never going to be a magic bullet, but it gets us closer, and anything that we can do to help with remediation and protecting ourselves against hurricanes and storm surge and storms, we should do that. And I can't sit here and tell you that I know the details of the cost for Duke to underground. I can't imagine that. But I do challenge you to look for that, because at the price we're charging for Skinner, in my mind, it's almost cost prohibitive to do it anywhere else. And so as partners, we need to try and figure that problem out, because we do need to move forward in that. But as far as the franchise agreement itself is concerned, thank you all for sitting down. Thank you for being at the table. Again, Jorge, thank you. Vice Mayor, thank you. And let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Twarnga.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody, especially Vice Mayor, because I definitely couldn't have been the one sitting at the table. Everybody knows why.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to take an opportunity again and thank Chris Rowe with BMO in Tallahassee. It was integral in helping me through this process, and I'd like to thank Chris and Jeff and Mike and Kimberly and Shannon and all the others. I mean, I think just the relationships, as the Vice Mayor indicated, that we've developed and fostered are critical.
Thank you, Jorge. I just remember the 7th day of being out of electricity in Irma, and didn't know Jeff was our person, or maybe I did, and I didn't know how to get a hold of you at that time. This is in 2017. Couldn't get a hold of the other person out who remained nameless because all the lines were down because there were no electricity, and took to social media. And within 45 minutes, I got a text from him.
Not a good memory, probably.
It was not a pleasant exchange. And it really wasn't about me being without electricity. It was about, during Irma, it was just the social media blitz that none of us could really explain to our residents. And it kind of started with there. And then Jennifer and I went up to Tallahassee to rake all electric companies over the coals about not having undergrounding. Yeah, it was an interesting time. So when we started working on this, and knowing Vice Mayor's background with the previous electric audit, equipment audit that you had been a part of, I was like, and a better temperament. I was like, yep, she's the one.
I do have all their cell phones now, I know.
Yeah.
Well,
I have
start
Jeff.
changing your numbers now.
I have Jeff. That's all I need. I only need Jeff's. But yeah, it was a rocky road that started in 2017, and we're in 2024. So we've come a long way, baby. So I do thank all of you for your part in this. I know it was long for you, Jorge. And thank you, Jennifer, because you weren't even barely in your job when Irma hit. You weren't in your job, it was yeah, 6 days.
9 days.
Yeah, 9 days, and it all started, so it's kind of funny that the culmination of this is, how many years later.
I feel a little nostalgic.
Yeah, just a little bit.
A
Yeah,
little, very little, right?
You still had your old car that we drove in, and that should make you really nostalgic.
Very.
Anyway, thanks for all the hard work, appreciate it greatly. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Tonga.
Aye.
Commissioner Gao.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Franey.
Aye.
Mayor Buszowski.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously. Now, you guys don't have to stick around anymore either.
So can
You're
we
probably
have
gonna go
drinks?
get a
I mean,
drink.
You let them go have drinks, so can we do
Yeah,
that?
Go yon hither.
Thank you
Maybe we
all so
celebrate by
much.
flick.
Yeah, you
Thank
guys are good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, and then the final thing is the proposed agenda for March 7th. Rebecca, I'm told you have an item to add?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I was asked to add a resolution to adopt the National Institute of Standards and Technology framework as required by Florida Section 282.3185, Local Government Cybersecurity Act. And so that will go on as a resolution for that March 7th.
Who's that for? Who's asking for that?
The IT department.
Gotcha. Okey-doke. So we'll add that. Anything else from anybody? Okay.
So moved.
No, I need okay, so Commissioner Gao, sorry, it took me a minute.
Second?
Okay. Vice Mayor Frady, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Anything on informational items besides the fact that we have spring training? Excuse me.
God bless you.
Starting on, and we have opening day of Little League and opening day of spring training, all on the same day.
Yep, big day.
Big day. Okay, guys.
Play ball.
Yeah. We are adjourned.
Celebrate the franchise. Do we flick?